the planes will go to Rwanda, we will have a deterrence. But I've got a plan to deal with it because I'm going to put people on planes.
UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak believes that sending all migrants and Islamists to Rwanda will help solve the UK's immigration issues. This plan is part of a broader mission that is quickly gaining attention among the UK public. Here's why.
Because today we are facing the greatest threat to democracy and the rule of law on our continent since before the Treaty of London was signed. With Russia waging a war of aggression on European soil and China growing in assertiveness, the world is becoming more contested and more volatile. The challenge to our values is growing, and the moment to push back is now. Democracies like ours must build resilience so that we can out-cooperate and out-compete those who drive instability. We can't just sit back and watch as criminal gangs profiteer on people's misery. Illegal migration exploits the most vulnerable. It risks crowding out those with a genuine case for asylum. And it strains the trust that our citizens have, not just in our domestic borders, but in the international system. And that's why so many of us are already acting at the national level, and why we need to do more to cooperate across borders and across jurisdictions to end illegal migration and stop the boats.
Rishi Sunak is discussing the Illegal Migration Act, which targets refugees and asylum seekers arriving in the UK by boat. This was a promise he made last year, but has since backfired on him.
We've got organised criminals risking people's lives in makeshift dinghies. Gangs trying to usurp the role of government, taking it upon themselves to decide who comes to our country. Our asylum system is being overwhelmed with people travelling from safe countries, taking away our capacity to help those in the greatest need. And the British people are having to spend £6 million a day putting up illegal migrants in hotels. Now, earlier this year, I set out 5 priorities: to halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists, and stop the boats. Illegal migrants entering the rest of Europe have risen by 30%. But we are not complacent because we know people smugglers are highly organised and will change their tactics if we let them. I will not rest until the boats are stopped. With grip and determination, the government can fix this, and we are using every tool at our disposal. First, I promise to work closely with our international partners, because this is a global phenomenon. There are 100 million people displaced around the world, and European countries alone saw almost a million asylum applications last year. And this international approach is delivering. When people know that if they come here illegally, they won't get to stay, they stop coming. Now, second, I promise to improve enforcement. So we've doubled the funding given to the National Crime Agency for tackling organised immigration crime, and arrests here of illegal workers have more than doubled. Third, I promise to stop people spuriously using modern slavery claims to frustrate their removal. And since we started asking for basic evidence to back up modern slavery claims, the refusal rate has tripled. Fourth, I promise to clear through the backlog of people waiting for initial decision. Numbers published today show that the initial decision legacy backlog is down by over 17,000. And we're on track to clear it entirely by the end of the year. Fifth, I promised we would get illegal migrants out of hotels and into alternative sites, including military facilities. Today, I can confirm new large sites will open at Wethersfield and Scampton, with hundreds moving in over the summer and nearly 3,000 by the autumn. Finally, I promised not just to reform our asylum system, but to reform our laws. So we've introduced unprecedented legislation to make clear that if you come here illegally, you will be detained and removed in weeks, either to your own country or to a safe third country like Rwanda. This won't be solved overnight, and people will continue to come this summer, which is why it is so important that we change the law. as I said, people will still come here in the summer, the gangs will keep trying other routes. But the measures that we are putting in place are starting to work, and I think you can see that most concretely when it comes to the Albanian situation, where the number of crossings from Albania of illegal migrants from Albania is down by 90%. And again, that's all part of a plan. It all creates a deterrence effect that people should not try and come here illegally. So we've made progress there as well. One of my 5 priorities, I believe it's the country's priority as well, to see the boats stopped. And this new law is an important part of how we will do that. If you come to our country illegally, you will not be able to stay. Instead, you will be swiftly detained and then sent back either to your own country if it's safe to do so, or to Rwanda or another third country alternative. The best way to relieve that pressure is to stop people from coming in the first place. Right? So rather than treating the symptoms, actually treat the cause. That's why the bill is so important. It's why we need to pass new laws, have international agreements, get the backlog down. If we do all of those things, we can move to a system which means people won't be able to stay if they come here illegally into this part of the country or anywhere else. I think we will see people stop coming, right? And that's the best way to relieve the pressure on the community here.
Rishi Sunak's 2 failed attempts to stop the boats, pro-Palestine protesters took advantage of the situation, swarming the streets of London to protest against the current war, while the Prime Minister was busy thinking of his next step.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Very clear so everyone understands. Yep. If those dogs come close to us again, we will see it as an act of aggression and we will kill those dogs.
This is the next anti-Jewish edition.
We don't care about death! We love death!
Amidst the growing tension from Islamic protests and the rising number of migrants, Rishi Sunak was forced to employ another tactic.
The planes will go to Rwanda, we will have a deterrent. So the simple question for Keir Starmer is, what will you do with people who come here illegally? What will you do with them? Well, very simply, what will you do with them? That's what I'm going to do. We'll have a deterrent. What are you going to do?
We need to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade, making a huge amount of money, putting some of the most vulnerable people in boats across the channel. The numbers this year, 10,000, record numbers. Why is that?
Because this is a challenge. This is a growing challenge, but I've got a plan to deal with it because I'm going to put people on planes. What are you going to do with them? I can tell everyone what I'm going to do. You might not like it, but I've got a plan because we've got to have a deterrent. What are you going to do? Just tell everybody. What are you going to do with illegal migrants who arrive?
Please, can we please, gentlemen, if your Rwanda plan is blocked by the courts, and will this appear in your manifesto, that you would remove the UK from the European Convention on Human Rights? Is that part of your plan? Will that be in your manifesto?
I'm crystal clear. I believe all our plans are compliant with our international obligations, but if I am forced to choose between securing our borders and our country's security or a foreign court, I'm going to choose our country's security every single time.
Keir Starmer, respond to that directly to Rishi Sunak, please.
No, if I'm Prime Minister, we will not pull out of international agreements and international law, which is respected the world over.
More illegal migrants being brought ashore today at Dover by a UK Border Force patrol vessel, just days after Rishi Sunak's Stop the Boats legislation became law. Yet the Prime Minister has told Sky News the deterrent of his Rwanda policy is already working. He was responding to a claim by the Irish Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Micheál Martin that the Rwanda law means more migrants are leaving the UK and heading to Ireland.
What that comment illustrates is a couple of things. One, that illegal migration is a global challenge, which is why you're seeing multiple countries talk about doing third country partnerships, looking at novel ways to solve this problem, and I believe will follow where the UK has led. The deterrent is, according to your comment, already having an impact because people are worried about coming here, and that demonstrates exactly what I'm saying. If people come to our country illegally but know that they won't be able to stay, they're much less likely to come.
The PM, who's made stopping the boats one of his 5 pledges ahead of the general election, said his ambition was to stop all small boat crossings and end illegal migration.
Refugee and Islamic groups say that the threat of deportation to Rwanda is making things worse. They believe this move will not stop the flow of illegal migrants crossing the English Channel.
As long as there is a Rwanda policy and the Illegal Migration Act, which states that somebody can't lodge an application for asylum in the UK and have it considered if they enter in an irregular way, it's going to have knock-on effects on Ireland. That's plain to see.
Now that the Rwanda legislation has become law, the Prime Minister won't find it quite so easy to blame his political opponents in the Commons and in the House of Lords if it doesn't work. That probably won't stop him, though. The danger for Mr Sunak is that even if planes do take off for Rwanda this summer and some migrants head to Ireland, it won't stop the tide of illegal migrants crossing the Channel. John Craig, Sky News.
While the Prime Minister is still trying to find a way to fix this problem, many refugee and Islamic groups are not allowed to work while they are being processed. They have expressed concerns, saying they feel bored and with nothing to do.
This is a hotel, which is now being used to house dozens of asylum seekers, much to the consternation of some locals.
They don't know where they're from, they don't know the backgrounds, they see them in groups of men and just probably feel uneasy.
Do you think it's changed the atmosphere in the community?
I think, yeah, people, because I speak to a lot of locals in the village, they usually let their kids roam around the village at night, you know, when they play with the bikes. Now some of them are like thinking twice.
Mo Tariq is an estate agent. He says the arrival of asylum seekers has caused rent prices to drop.
I feel like maybe we should have some system in place, something for them to do here. Because what often happens, in my view, from where I'm sitting, is that they will just stand around and they look like almost as they have nothing to do.
Groups currently being processed are stuck in limbo, unable to work. All they can do is eat, sleep and feel bored.
This man from Eritrea has been in the system for 8 years.
For me, it's absolutely terrible. It's not good. It's not good. Just leave, just eat, go back to the room. Just eat, go back.
That's your day. You eat, go back to your room.
Yes, that's all day.
There's a backlog of nearly 40,000 asylum seekers who've made it to the UK. Their accommodation is costing taxpayers £5.5 million a day. Abdullah is from Tanzania.
I'm not happy in the hotel and I'm not happy in this whole situation about Home Office. Because Home Office, they send me message to grant me about accommodation and support. But they didn't give me enough support.
Some people may say that if you're unhappy with the food, you're unhappy with the accommodation, why don't you return to Tanzania? Because Tanzania is a safe country.
So when I go back to home country, I'm gonna die. They're gonna kill me.
Who's gonna kill you?
Society and government as well. Because I have a problem against the society and government.
What's the problem?
I'm gay, man.
It's not lost on the asylum seekers that some people find their presence intimidating. But whilst they're stuck in the immigration system, there's little opportunity to integrate.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Please subscribe and click here to watch other videos on this topic to stay up to date.